Oh, that's how you play this game.
Alright. Who's next?
Wolfenstein II is one of my favorite FPS games. It's not as good as Doom Eternal, nothing is as good as Doom Eternal, but I still think it's pretty good. The action is brutal and satisfying, the movement is fast, the guns are beautifully modeled and animated, and they all sound and feel powerful, especially the Shockhammer, a rotatory triple barrel shotgun, and yes, you can shoot the 3 barrels at the same time. The enemies are imposing, both in visual design and combat. I really like that they actually speak German instead of just having silly accent. You got soldiers, dogs, big robot dogs known as Panzerhund, the Übersoldat, big boys that carry big guns. You get robot soldiers and the Citadel, which is a bigger robot. All of them having their own strengths and weaknesses. And all of this is accompanied by a wonderful soundtrack by Mick Gordon, fresh after working on Doom 2016, meaning that the soundtrack is more aggressive and heart-pounding compared to his work on the prequel, The New Order. I like his work on the new Doom games, but this is the soundtrack that I preferred. It has its own flavor to it, while keeping his iconic style. Every arena in this game has flanking routes, which if you fail to take advantage of, your enemies will. This game demands 2 things from you, speed and precision. Speed because you always need to be on the move, otherwise if you stay in one place for too long, enemies will surround you or flush you off with a grenade. And precision because you need good aim. You need to choose your targets and always aim for the head or weak points. And you always need to take split-second decisions depending on the weapon that you are using. Basically, you need to put a fast on them before they can put a fast on you. In terms of survivability, you are a glass cannon, capable of a lot of damage, but you yourself die really fast. Death comes quick, enemies are fanatics, the violence is satisfying. In that regards, it reminds me a lot to Blood from 1997. That, and also because the most dangerous enemy and the one that will kill you the most is the most common, the gun-toting grunt. All of this summarized paints a picture of a really good game, but if you got to ask me back in 2017 after the first time I beat it, I would have told you something different, something that resonates with reviews that were more critical at the time. This video is about gameplay. I don't care about the politics that some players and some journalists project into this game. I have zero interest in politics, and getting angry at politics is getting angry at things that you cannot change. Back in 2017, I would have told you that this game wasn't as good as The New Order or The Old Blood, that the level design was bad and confusing, and the low health and high difficulty forces you into playing into stealth mode. And that is the main problem of the combat in this game, the stealth system. It conditions you into the most unrewarding and boring way to play. But how exactly is this game conditioning you? Well, I'm gonna tell you how the game conditioned me into playing this way. When players are faced with different gameplay opportunities, they tend to gravitate to the option that is the most uncomplicated way to achieve victory. Think of how as soon as most players get the super shotgun in Doom 2016, it becomes their most used weapon, and as soon as the ammo is depleted, they use the chainsaw to get the ammo back, and then they just keep playing the same way. Or how shields in Dark Souls makes you play in a more passive and conservative way, to the point that you can use a shield and a spear at the same time, and by the end of the game you will be using heavy armor and not even bothering with the dodging mechanics. In the case of Wolfenstein II, stealth is the path of least resistance. It leads you into this as soon as you get introduced to the hatchet. You see, with the hatchet you can execute any small enemy in the game, regardless if they are facing you or not. It is like a glory kill, but you don't need to weaken the enemy first. The only drawback is that it leaves you vulnerable to attacks while the animation is playing. And if you have one spare, you can use it to throw it into enemies, killing them instantly, minding that you hit an unarmored section. But the first enemy that you see after getting the hatchet, has his back turned, giving you an easy execution. This teaches you that the hatchet is for stealth kills, similar to other games like Far Cry 3 where you can only execute enemies when they are unaware to your presence. After that, you get introduced to the Uber Commandos. Uber Commandos in this game work as summoners. As soon as they get alerted to your presence, they start calling reinforcements, until all reinforcements are depleted or the Uber Commando is dead. Again, this first Uber Commando is introduced with his back turn, presenting for an easy stealth kill, but there is 2 Uber Commandos in this arena, so you will try to sneak around using the proximity meter to pinpoint his position. This teaches you that you need to kill the Uber Commandos without engaging in danger head on. Personally, I think it would have been better if as soon as you kill the first Uber Commando, the second one was alerted. That would have shown that getting caught is not the end of the fight, and the player would get a chance to get more acclimated to the combat. After that, you get introduced to your first forced combat scenario. You throw a grenade to blow up a fuel tank. This leaves a hole that gives you access to the next area, where you finally get to fight the enemy head on. The problem with this fight is that it is in a small corridor where all enemies are approaching you from a single direction. You see, the best way to engage with enemies in this game is by flanking around, always being on the move, making them think that you are in one place and then surprise them by shooting them in the back. Not by crouching under cover and poking some damage to get some cheap kills. This is not Call of Duty. And because the enemies are extremely dangerous, you will be taking a lot of damage for staying stationary in one place. This will discourage you from combat, and after that you will be engaging in every arena with extreme caution, going slow, trying to kill everybody with stealth, and by the time you get to your first upgrade kit, you will be wasting it by putting a suppressor on your pistol. And that's it, you have been conditioned into stealth. Welcome to having a bad time. By the time where you get to the more challenging combat arenas that have no stealth options, like the New York penthouse or the courtroom fight, you will be very inexperienced with the combat and you will die a lot. You will get frustrated beyond belief. You will be throwing words like unbalanced and unfair instead of throwing hatchets into your enemies. There is a reason why I mentioned Doom 2016 and Dark Souls in the previous section. That's because both have sequels that condition you into playing a certain way. Doom Eternal and Bloodborne. Doom Eternal is a game that pushes you into using your entire arsenal. It does this by limiting your ammo pool and making the chainsaw refill by itself. If you try only to use the super shotgun like in the prequel, you will be running out of ammo constantly, and because the chainsaw takes time to recharge, you will be forced to use other weapons. The game gives you options, but there is no option that will carry you through the entire game. When you're low on health, you need to kill an enemy to recover. If you glory kill them, they drop even more health, or if you have the upgrades, you can freeze them or use the blood punch. If you need armor, you use fire, either from your flame belch or your mid hook. If you need ammo, you use your chainsaw. If an enemy is too much for you, you can always use the crucible to kill him, or you can use the BFG to clear the screen. All of this pushes you into being more aggressive, and the more aggressive you are, the more the game rewards you. This in turn pushes you into mastery, and all of this and more is why Doom Eternal is the best FPS game out right now. In the case of Bloodborne, the developer decided to get rid of shields. They also made the game much more faster. There is no heavy armor, and dashing is much more faster than rolling. There is also the rally mechanic. Every time you take damage, you can recover some or all of your health by hitting enemies, making offense the best defense, and the way enemies attack encourages you to dash into enemies instead of dashing away. All of this makes for a Souls game that is much more faster paced. I think Sekiro does something similar, but I haven't played Sekiro. Now, I am mentioning this because Wolfenstein II has some similar mechanics, but they are not as polished. As soon as the game starts proper, you get the dad issued armor. It maxes at 200 points of armor, but your health is kept at 50. This teaches you that armor is more important than health, and that you should always be on the lookout for armor pickups. And almost every enemy drops armor. The bigger the enemy, the more armor it drops. With big enemies like the Panzerhund, you can get your armor back to the top. The problem lies on how you pick up the armor. Sometimes you will be grinding back and forward trying to pick up a piece of armor from the floor. This in the middle of combat is not an option. If it wasn't for this, the game could have a much faster pace. The other mechanic that I really like is dual wielding. Compared to the New Order, this game doesn't penalize your movement for having a gun on each hand. You also keep your accuracy and you can hold different guns on each hand. The only thing you lose is aiming down sights and the ability to throw grenades and hatchets. You see, all the enemies in this game die really quick. They don't take much more than a couple of precise shots to get down. When you get into a battle arena, you analyze the layout and try to find the most efficient way to dispatch all the enemies. You will die trying, but once you get a perfect fight, you will feel like you mastered the arena. And this is where the combat shines the brightest. There is a clear balance problem with the arsenal, making the assault rifle the most powerful and versatile gun in the game. The assault rifle, after getting armor-piercing rounds and the tactical scope, melts every enemy in the game. And top that with how plentiful the ammo is, making all the other guns a novelty. All of this makes a game that begs to be mastered, but gets held back by some questionable decision. In this video I mainly talk about the gameplay and mechanics of this game, but there is much more than just that. I like the story, the lore, the voice acting, the cutscenes, but after 98 hours of playing this game I just want to skip them and go straight to the action. What really hurts replayability in this game are the unskippable cutscenes. Between Papa Blazkowicz's gamer rant,
I have worked too hard for too damn long to lose my reputation because my boy is sweet on some neck.
Fergus getting disarmed, lawyer scene, the execution scene, and literally Hitler, they all clock in around half an hour of a 4-hour playthrough. Other things that I don't like is how slow you switch weapons, getting knocked down by explosives, the pee-pee poo-poo jokes, and that terrible ending, made even worse by that horrible cover of Twisted Sister. I already don't like that song, but somehow they made it even worse. But I am still very positive towards the game. I see it as a diamond in the rough, one that with some tweaks it can become a masterpiece of gameplay and design. Maybe not as good as Doom Eternal, but you know, a little bit closer. There is going to be a Wolfenstein 3, that's for sure. But after the way they changed the gameplay for Wolfenstein Youngblood, my hopes are not very high. In short, what I wanted to say about this game is that Wolfenstein 2 is a really good action game, but a very bad stealth game.
Can you feel me coming like a heart beating time? Keep on moving, hunting until you're mine. Fueled by the chase, I'll win. You know I'll never give in. Can you feel